Hello and welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be addressing the one of the questions where most competitive bowlers they may not actively ask their coaches about, but I'm sure most of them actually think, especially for people who are a little bit more analytical and more left-brained, they will probably consider this. So the question is that what is most important? Because in bowling, there's so many things. There's the physical game, that means how you're able to throw a ball, and there is the tactical game, that means what lines to play, when do I move my feet, when do I move my target, when do I move my arrows, where do I aim at, and there's also the ball equation, like which ball should I use right now, what ball should I buy for my bag, what ball should I be bringing to this tournament, or what the new ball releases are coming out. Should I buy them? Would it be a good addition for my arsenal? Would they help me to score higher? So and there other than that, other than the tactical, there's also the mental part, especially if you're competing often, like how can I be mentally tougher? Like how can I be a better bowler under pressure? What is better and so on. So most competitive bowlers will be asking all these questions, but the which is the most important? Obviously, as a coach, we would want to say physical game, that's the main thing, but I'm gonna explain a little bit why. But then again, I think the more appropriate answer would be to it depends on the level of the bowler. That means if a bowler is currently at the stage whereby their physical game is pretty good, there's not much room for improvement. Like even if improving the physical game is like there's just small parts of the physical game that can be tweaked, but it's not gonna like bring up his scores or her results, bring his or her results a lot higher. Then it will be good idea to focus on other things. Basically, it's focus on whatever the bowler is weakest at. Obviously, bowlers will want to concentrate, as competitors, people want to concentrate on their strengths. So they should always make sure that their strengths stay the strongest part of their game. But they should also be looking to improve on whatever areas that they are weakest at, so that by improving something they're weakest at, they will probably get the most amount of results based on improving that weakness. So in terms of if you just look at data and we've just talked about efficiency, that will be the more efficient way of getting better results. Okay, so depending on so going back to, let's say, why the physical game is the most important thing. It's because, let's say, if you're like me from like I was bowling a few years back, I was learning the two-handed game. My physical game was quite shit, like quite garbage. But I didn't know that. I thought it was decent because I didn't go through coaching. I didn't learn. I didn't really. I mean, I tried to research, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge about the two-handed game. So I didn't know how to improve. I didn't know what was wrong with my physical game. So, but because I've been bowling for quite a fair bit, about 20 years, so I had a little bit more knowledge on like the tactical aspects, like when to shift, how to read the lanes, looking at ball reaction, how the ball enters the pins, and so on. So a little bit more experience with that. So the problem was that I could read the lanes. I could see the lane conditions. I could see what ball was probably good for that lane condition. Then I could look at other competitive bowlers and see, oh, they're playing this specific target line. So let's say a lot of competitive bowlers in this particular tournament, they're playing this line. So they're hitting this break point and they're crossing the arrows around here. So their line to path to target is something like this. Okay, so this was the ideal line, and they're using like probably like a standard reactive ball. So I wanted to copy that. Like, okay, sure, fine. Then when I try and throw it, it's like I will miss here, I will miss left, I will miss right, and my ball will go here. It doesn't hook back. And I will miss left, my ball will overhook, and so on. And it will be a struggle for me to actually hit the target line. And the times that I actually hit the target line and get the desired reaction was quite little. And obviously, the relatively few times that I was able to hit this particular target line, I didn't have the optimal release. That means my release my release or my ball speed wasn't really suitable for playing this particular line, and either my ball either overhooked or it didn't react enough, then you will leave like weak pin tens or maybe ringing tens and stuff like that, and I'll be frustrated. So I would know certain aspects of the tactical game and the ball knowledge, but I didn't have the physical game to be able to execute what I wanted my body to do. So I wanted my body to throw the ball exactly on this line and hook there and strike, but my body was physically incapable of doing that because my physical game was just not good enough. So that's why, as coaches, most of us we believe at the development stage of a bowler or or bowling athlete. That means when you're younger, or even for adult athletes, for older athletes, as long as your physical game is not at high enough level, our focus should always be trying to improve the weakest aspects of the physical game first. Because once the physical game is certainly good enough, for example, if your ball speed is good enough, most important is your accuracy on direction. Like your direction is good enough, and you have ways of varying your releases and your stance. Like for example, if you're required to hit something like this line, so for playing a little bit inside out, crossing at the board 5, sending ball out to board 3 at the break point, it's a very narrow line. So you might be required to play this line in a tournament, and you have the physical ability to do that. And then as the lanes dry up, or maybe in a different tournament, you'll be required to play something like this, like deeper inside around third arrow, and you have the ability to hit this target consistently, the ability to vary your physical game, tilt your shoulders, still get the accuracy and still hit this line consistently. And then maybe on certain longer conditions, you'll be required to play something like this, like a deep inside line that crosses the fourth arrow, sending it out and coming back into the pocket like this. So you might be required to play this kind of line in another tournament, and you have the ability to play all of them. And maybe in another tournament, you're required to play exactly like board 3. So on the outside, like straight board 3, board 5, straight down. So you might be required to play this kind of line at a particular tournament. So if you have the physical ability to do all of these, that means you're accurate in doing it, and you're able to change your ball roll, modify your ball speed to get the desired ball reaction and the ball motion. So probably a very high level physical. That means your physical game as a bowler is probably at a very high level. You're close to a professional, or at least a very competent amateur bowler. That means in a competition, as long as you know what you're doing, you're probably hard to beat because you're accurate. And obviously, your sparing game must be good, because spares are always the fundamental core concept of scoring in bowling. If you can't hit your spares, you probably can never score high. So if your physical game is that good, then probably as coaches we'll less likely focus on the physical game, probably just asking the bowler to regularly practice to make sure that the physical game doesn't dull, stay sharp. At the same time, we'll focus more on the tactical aspects, like what ball to use when, how to read the ball reaction down the lane, and so on. So those are the tactical aspects. What line to play when, and so on. How to read the lane charts, how to read the oil charts, and so on and so forth. So it's a very subjective question, but most of the time, as coaches, why we become coaches for all the coaches in Singapore and around the world is because all of us understand that in the end of the day, physical game is still one of the most important things for a bowling athlete. If the bowler doesn't have the physical game, there's no way the bowler can compete. Even if you give him the best balls, like they have 100 balls, all drilled differently, and the bowler himself or maybe the ball rep behind him, they know like, okay, so for this particular line, you need this particular ball to match up, you need this particular ball to match up, you have the best drilling in the world, it feels comfortable. But if the bowler cannot physically hit the target and they cannot execute the release and throw the ball at the required ball speed, the required ref rate, like the required axis tilt and axis rotation to get the ball to react the particular way, there's not much point to knowing all that tactical knowledge and the ball knowledge.